Disclaimer: all views expressed on What Makes Us Fire are solely those of the person or persons giving them. What Makes Us Fire does not represent or claim to represent any particular city or fire department, and therefore make the claim that all views and standpoints are affiliated with What Makes Us Fire and with What Makes Us Fire only. Any mention of certain fire departments or cities within the interviews are solely for informational and opinion-based dialogue. In short, if you have a problem with what's published, just say something about it and don't be a Richard. Hear ye, hear ye. What Makes Us Fire Family, the What Makes Us Fire podcast presents Sir Lancelot. All right, What Makes Us Fire Family, how you doing? On the episode today, you guessed it, we have Lance, better known as Sir Lancelot, on his social media platforms with a period in between each letter because, well, why not? Me and Lance sit down, we talk a little bit about where he came from, how he grew up, how he got into becoming a sheriff's officer instead of pursuing his lifelong dream of becoming a firefighter. I don't know why he decided to go that route and why he just conceded to the idea that being a sheriff's officer was the better route to go, but I digress. All playing aside, Lance and I have an amazing conversation. Him and I dive into his history, dive into his idea of mental health, and we both give a little bit of our ideas on what we can do to make it easier for civil service members and really anybody to start the conversation. I hope you enjoy this episode. I hope you learned something. Y'all, without further ado, I now present to you Sir Lancelot. That was weird. I don't know why I did that.
That's been pretty good. I don't know if you know, but I have 4 kids, so it's every day is a, and one of them is trying to break into the room right now. Nope, go away.
You have 4 kids?
4 kids, 5 and under. I got twin boys at 1.5. I got a 3.5 girl and a 5-year-old girl. So we are busy here.
Dude, keep it in your pants, bro.
Yeah, right?
Golly, man. I know what cops do on their off time. Jesus.
We get bored, you know?
Well, Lance, brother, first I'm going to say thank you for coming on the What Makes Us Fire podcast, man. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to come on the show, share a little bit about yourself, and help us kind of kill that stigma about mental health and everything. And so, really, man, there's really no format, but what I like to do is I like to tell our audience a little bit on, one, how I got you to come on the show.
Sure.
And then we'll jump into a little bit of your background, and then we'll go into kind of today and everything else. So that's basically really it, man. Nothing crazy. Whatever we talk about, we talk about. I love little rabbit holes because then we get to know each other just a little bit more on our thinking and everything else. So if you need to take a potty break, let me know. We could take a potty break. I mean, I know you cops like to jump by the firehouse from time to time and use the restroom and take off and
play a little Xbox, you know, get some snacks, some homemade cooking.
I mean, you guys do that when we're off freaking, working. I'm sure you guys hang out at the firehouse when we're not there.
Heck yeah, whatever it takes, man.
So, Lance, you are I'm just going to call it what it is. You're a social media influencer on TikTok.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
kind of weird hearing that, right?
Yeah, it is. It is weird hearing that, but I guess technically that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. And you are a sheriff's officer. You work for the SO. You don't have to say where you work. I mean, we are on a worldwide broadcasted show. I'm not going to tell you exactly where I work either. But what state is it that you work in at least?
I work in Florida, the north
Florida?
part.
North part of Florida. Yeah, I'm a firefighter in Southeast Texas in the Houston area.
So, but yeah, you're a cop. I'm a firefighter. This is going to be fun because, sheriff's office, at least in my town, they take for fucking ever to get to the scene, especially if it's a county call. And we'll sit there and we'll wait and we'll wait and we'll wait and we'll wait for you guys to finish your coffee and your donut to show up, whatever. No, man, we met through the What Makes Us Fire Foundation's co-founder, Miss Conservative Ariel.
Oh, okay. I didn't know she was a co-founder. That's cool.
Yeah, she's the co-founder, and she was like, I have somebody I think that might be beneficial to have on the show and to help, spread the word and everything. And I was just like, all right, cool. Who is it? She goes, it's this guy, Sir Lancelot. And I was just like, yeah, I know him. I've seen a few of his videos. The guy's pretty funny. He's cool. But he's a cop. And she goes, yeah, my husband's a cop. But it's kind of like most of the people I know are cops. And I'm like, well, I guess why not? Sure. But no, seriously, man. Your content's great. You post some pretty funny stuff. You post some informational stuff. You post some you post some mental health forward stuff, and basically just you post things that really bring people up, kind of show that everyone's a human being. They all deserve respect, and we all deserve respect just for being a human being. We're all worth it, right? Yeah. And you have this persona about you, or this energy about you, that when you watch the videos, I don't know if it's just because your face looks funny or what, but you just have again, sorry, I'm gonna dog on you, man. You're a cop. But you have this very good feeling when people jump into your content and listen, and what you're sharing is it's not just you twerking or anything. It's actually, I mean, I don't know if there's a video of you twerking or not, but if there is, I gotta go find it.
There's probably a couple of them out there.
You need to go find that. That should be the opening of the show. Just had me just shaking your ass. But yeah, no, she messaged me. She actually messaged you first, told you a little bit about what we were about, and you're like, yeah, that sounds cool. And then I get in contact with you, and the first thing I do is start making fun of you, and yet you are still down to come on the show and everything. And that's basically really it. We don't really know each other very well. We've had a couple of conversations on the phone, via text and everything else. Nothing major. I was an asshole, and I told you I was going to call at one time, and I totally missed that phone call. And that was on me. Firefighters actually do have to work sometimes.
Yeah.
And I couldn't make the phone call, and I apologize for that. But we finally got it to happen. We set up the date, and here we are. Nothing spectacular, but here we are. I have a little bit of a question for you. One, you don't know. Do you know Ariel?
Not personally, just through TikTok.
Just through TikTok. So what the hell? Like, what did you think about, hey, somebody is asking you to be on a podcast?
Well, it's actually funny because I had a buddy in the sheriff's office who was trying to start his own podcast called Beat Talk.
Mm-hmm.
And basically every week he wanted to, speak with law enforcement, military, fire, kind of like what you're doing, but just kind of get perspective and, humanize the badge that way. But then right before he started, he changed agencies and went back to his home state. So I was like, oh man, that sounded really cool. I was down for it. And that's the last I've heard about podcasts. That was like a year ago. And when Conservative Ariel brought it up to me, I mean, obviously our political views are pretty much aligned, and we're kind of on the same sense of humor as well. So, a fellow friend is, hey, can you help me out with this? No questions asked. Like, I don't, not gonna be perfect, but let's give it a whirl. I mean, she didn't say you're fire department. That might have swayed my decision at first, but I was already waist deep in it, so I had to roll with it.
Yeah, and that was something else I was talking about. That now with What Makes Us Fire, we don't really get very political. we're very mental health forward, and with mental health, nobody's immune to it, right? It doesn't matter where you are in life, what you think about in life, everybody deals with it. And when we put on the uniform, it doesn't matter who you are, what your political views are. It doesn't matter. When we get the call, we're going to drop everything we need to do and go help you. We don't care if you like us, you don't like us. We're going to do what we can to help you, period.
Yeah.
End of story. And part of your content, is political, but you do it in a way that doesn't necessarily bash the opposing view. You do it in a fairly respectful way, in that you're like, look, I'm just going to use facts here. Please don't be belligerent. Please don't use your emotion to describe your point of view. Let's use facts, and then make your opinion about me. Don't make your opinion about me because I wear a uniform. Don't make your opinion about me because of a bad apple in the group. Like, don't allow that to happen, because we don't do that for anybody else. Oh, yeah. In a group of friends, if you have one asshole, you don't assume the whole group of friends is an asshole. If you are a waiter and you have one bad waiter who is a complete asshole and just horrible person, you don't look at all waiters as horrible people. But for some reason, because we have a uniform on, we get tied to all the bad things that one individual did or has done.
Yep.
And you're doing great work in trying to kill that idea out there when it comes to that.
That's the key word is trying. And I had the conversation with my wife, who's also on TikTok. It's when you get into these arguments with people over social media, a lot of times it's just talking to a brick wall. And if they're not willing to actually carry on a conversation with you, and just stop, because it's not going anywhere. I mean, these videos that I post, they're more for let's try to have a conversation. And if you come out with, not even trying to have a conversation, just, F the police, F you guys, F anybody in a badge, F anybody in uniform, it's like, okay, you're not even trying. So, and that's the whole point of what a lot of law enforcement do on at least TikTok is, let's try to humanize the badge. Let's try to have a conversation. If you're willing to talk to me, I'm willing to talk to you and show you what we really are. But you got to make an effort, just like we're making an effort.
And that's part of what Makes Us Fire podcast is about as well, right? So I started this whole thing in the idea because I started seeing this idea out there. And while we appreciate the sentiment, it's kind of a hard thing to live up to. The whole what you do makes you a hero, right? Yeah. And what you do makes you bad, or we're held to this higher standard. Now, when we have the uniform on, there is a standard we have to live up to, but people forget that shit, we have lives, we have family, we make mistakes, we mess up, and it's okay. It's okay for us to mess up, just like anybody else messes up. But the idea, it was to just show that we're human beings. We're human beings first, and we're just normal people doing an abnormal job. And that was part of it. I wanted to get the stories from all walks of life when it comes to civil service, military, first responders, police, fire, EMS, dispatchers, and their families, their wives, their husbands, the sons, the daughters, aunts, uncles, and just friends, just anybody that is involved in that civil service member's life. I wanted to get their stories just so we can share and humanize who we are as first responders, as civil service members. And it turned into, very mental health forward because of what I went through and what I've been battling. And then I found that there are a lot of civil service members trying to do the same thing. They're trying to normalize not only the badge, quote unquote, but they're trying to normalize the stigma of mental health that goes along with civil service. And that's what it's turned into. And you coming on to What Makes Us Fire and allowing us to do that with you is actually pretty freaking awesome, because that means you are taking a step in fighting the stigma. You're going to be somebody's going to listen to this episode and be like, you know what? He's somebody that I look up to. He's willing to do it. maybe I should start doing it as well. Let's kill this stigma. It shouldn't be that difficult to talk about mental health. It should actually be easy, and it should be easy so we can start helping ourselves be better. We need to kill that idea that if we talk about it, that means we're broken and we can't do anything. No, it just means, just like anything else, might have a broken arm. Doesn't mean I can't do anything. It just means I'm limited, but I can work on healing myself, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to get a little bit more into depth with all that. But really, first, I kind of want to get a little bit of a background, man. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Before you decided to, not follow your dream and become a firefighter and become a cop, where were you? Where you didn't catch that? That was awesome.
I hear you. I hear you. Taking mental notes here.
Oh God. Where you come from, man? Where'd you grow up? What was family life for you growing up and everything?
So, and it's funny because a lot of my followers don't know this. If they come into my lives, our lives that we do, we kind of throw a little things here and there about it. But I did grow up in a North Florida area, huge family, because me and two of my sisters were adopted. So the family we're adopted to, I had three sisters and a brother, but I also have two other brothers as well. So it's a very chaotic, and it's almost like you got to draw a family tree and connect it's crazy when I try to, link everybody together. But grew up in a big family, went to a very small school, went away to college in Mississippi, played soccer there, stayed in Mississippi.
Soccer?
Yeah, soccer.
Okay.
Played soccer in Mississippi, stayed there for about 5 years, and then came back to Florida because, Florida's just Mississippi, Florida. I'm sorry, it's hands down Florida. So about the time when I came back, it's when social media started really starting up with the anti-police, stigma, basically all in the videos and taking stuff out of all that started hyping up. And in my mind, instead of being a keyboard warrior and running my mouth, I'm like, if I see a problem, let's fix a problem. So my buddy and I joined the law enforcement academy locally, and now I work in the county where I grew up in. So it means a lot more to me because not only am I helping friends and family and neighbors, but I'm also paving the road for my kids. And like I told you earlier, I got 4 kids. So I'm paving that road for them as well. And so being in the hometown just means a lot more doing this job.
Yeah. Well, when you were growing up, are you like first generation first responder? Or did you have family members that kind of were in the realm of being a cop or firefighter or EMT or anything like that?
No, my mom was a teacher, principal at a school, and my dad, he works for a pest control company. And no one ever had a thought of being law enforcement or, firefighter. So I had a lot of extended family who was like, don't do it. Don't even step into that world. It's not worth it. And then, I had other part of the family like, no, I think you should do it. So I had it from both sides. But, it obviously came down to me, and I had to do it, man. Had to do something. And this seemed like that. 5.5 years later, still doing it, still with the same agency, still loving it. So
what did you want to do growing up as a kid, man? Like coming from a family like that, being adopted, I'm sure there was a lot of, questions about where you came from. What do you want to do when you grow up? What was your passion when you were growing up? And then besides seeing what was going on and having that kind of be the catalyst as to your final decision in pursuing it, what were you wanting to do before law enforcement?
Well, I was a sports junkie. Basketball and soccer basically ran my world in high school. Basketball season soccer season turned into basketball season, turned into training for soccer and basketball. So when I graduated high school, it was I going to play basketball or was I going to play soccer? And basically, in my mind, there's more people on a soccer team. So I have a better chance of making a college soccer team than making a basketball team. There's only 10, 15 people. I mean, it's a numbers game. Let's be honest. And I came from a very, very, very small private school. So I decided to go the soccer route. And, I wanted to play professional, right? You want to go out there and play professional. Then I entered the world of elite athletes. And it's like, I am definitely the bottom fish in the pool of all these athletes. But post college, I was like, I'm going to go. I had a sports management degree, going to coach soccer, work at a training facility, came back home. But the problem is where I grow up, it's very small. That world is very small here. So the opportunities were very, very small. And some of them fell through the cracks. And then all of a sudden it was, the law enforcement kind of road. It's always been there lingering because when you grow up, you play cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians, and everybody loves those. I mean, little boys, girls, doesn't matter. Everybody loves those games. So never even thought, I didn't even know the academy was in our county. I knew nothing about it. That's the main thing is I knew literally nothing about law enforcement, what they do or anything, because I've never asked and no one's came and talked about it or anything like that. You just, what do you know? You know what you see on TV, you know what you see on social media. So when I came back home and that started getting bigger and it started kind of getting the spotlight in the TV and social media, it kind of drew my attention and kind of sparked my interest. And a path opened up and I decided to take a chance and go down that path and still here.
When you started going down that path, all right, so you wanted to be the next David Beckham, I'm sure. I'm going to stop there because I can make so many jokes. And and a lot of, you're actually not too unique in the whole not wanting to be in that realm as you grew up, right? Like we hear those stories all the time. We hear the family lineage of first responders, and then the child falls in and goes into that line of work. Same thing with the military. We hear that all the time as well. And for people like you and me, it kind of just, we saw something and wow, okay, yeah, let me try it out. And then when you tried it out, for you ended up sticking with it. And for me, I ended up sticking with it, right? But it wasn't something that was on our radar growing up. It wasn't something that was on our radar until later on in life. And I'd say we're on the minority side of that when it comes to people in civil service. Usually you have people that come into this job that have been thinking about it for a while growing up, or have family that, they saw do it and kind of fell into it that way. When you started going into this and you started the process of becoming a sheriff's officer, was there any question as to whether or not you may or may not have made the right decision going into it?
So the final decision maker that made me go down the path was my closest friend growing up in high school. He was in a different county in Florida where he went to college, and he told me, he's, man, I've been thinking about law enforcement, and we had a bunch of conversations about it. And his academy where he was at was a couple months before mine. And we're close enough friends where he knows me better than most of my family. I mean, that's how close we are. I mean, literally brothers. And so I told him, I said, do the academy, let me know in a month or two if I would like that. If that's, me better than most, is that me? And he went about a month and a half, 2 months, and he called me and he goes, this is us, bro. This is what we need to do. This is it, man. And I said, I'm taking your word on it. And that was the final push for me to go down that path. And that was 6.5 years ago ish. And he's still doing law enforcement. He moved to Texas. So he's doing it there and I'm doing it here. And we both don't regret a single day. So
when you started the academy and you started doing your training and everything, was there any point in time that you thought this is a little bit more than I expected? Or were you like, this is exactly what I expected? Basically what I'm asking, at any point in time while you're becoming and learning what you need to learn and the training and everything, was there any point in time during that first process where you're like, this may have been a little bit more than I thought, or were you just all about it from get-go?
So I had no, like we discussed, I have no family members or really close friends who were in law enforcement full time to kind of give me a lot of insights of, hey, this is what we do from a day-to-day basis. It was more of what you see on TV, right? So I guess my biggest thought process was when shit hits a ceiling fan, how am I going to act? Because obviously I've never been in those situations before, and you'll never know how you're truly going to act until the situation happens. And in the law enforcement academy, they can't truly put you in those situations, but they can show you videos. They can help out, and so the law enforcement academy I went to, they showed a bunch of videos of shit hitting the ceiling fan, basically. Cops getting killed, people dying, you name it. They showed it, and we had a couple people in class who stood up to like, nope, not me, I'm out of here. But through all that, I'm going, I got this. I can still do this. I see it. I'm okay with that. Let's keep going. And then of course our sheriff's office, they offer what's called ride-alongs. So in the academy, we had a chance to ride. We do 12-hour shifts. Do a 12-hour shift with a active law enforcement, active deputy, and see from a passenger seat side what they do on a day-to-day basis. So I got a chance to do a couple of those as well. So putting those two together, I was still 110%. I can do this. This is still for me.
And just side note, how old are you, brother?
31.
31. All right. You're not too much younger than I am. I'll be 36 this year, so shut up. Jesus. Golly.
Silver
anyway,
alert.
Huh?
Silver alert.
Oh man. That's why, look, you see that in the beard? All that white in the beard right there? Yeah.
Yeah, if they were allowed to let us grow mine out, I'd have some gray streaks.
Now this is unique actually right here, because usually as a firefighter we have to keep clean shaven. But the beginning of February I had an injury. I fractured my rib, and then of course the next day I found out I had COVID. So I have been on workman's comp for the past month and a half or so, past month, and so this is what I figured. Man, I don't have to shave. I'm just not going to shave, and I'm kind of regretting it now. But
people know your age now.
Oh, shut up. Anyway, so you've been working as a sheriff's officer for the past 5 years or so, and during your time at work, man, what has it been like for you? Has it been everything you thought it was going to be? Have you anything happened, or that you're just like, whoa, this is crazy, or is it just kind of like, yeah, all right, I was prepared for this?
A little bit of both, I guess. In your mind, law enforcement, you never really see. I mean, you do see the beginning part. I'm going to be a beat cop, but then you kind of see, well, where am I going to be at 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, things of that nature. K-9 investigations, corporal sergeant, whatever. But obviously, when I started, I didn't have any kids. So kids, I mean, that's a totally separate life. Flipping the switch on when I put the uniform on, come home, taking the uniform off. So that life definitely affects law enforcement and the paths I take, things like that. But call to call, I honestly didn't know what to expect. For the most part, like I said, with the academy, they can give you a glimpse. You watch a lot of videos, but to actually be in the driver's seat, being the number one person, not number two, sticking around the corner waiting for the scene to be clear.
Whenever you guys get there, because we've been sitting there before you even get there. Yeah, of course we have to wait. It takes you guys forever to get there.
And the scene's clear, then y'all can show up and
and actually do the work. Got you. Yep.
I don't even know what y'all do. Just whatever.
Yeah.
Water.
Yeah. Water.
That's it.
Take care of people. Make sure you guys feel safe once you clear the scene, quote unquote.
Comfort us, give free hugs. The
Yep.
whole 9 yards.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards. Whole
Yeah.
9 yards.
But no, it's been good. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of crazy calls that you'll never forget. But that's what it is.
You brought up, and it's interesting because it's the first time somebody's brought this up, that your kids actually kind of, your family kind of dictate a little bit of what you pursue within your career, right? And that's actually, it's not too uncommon for a lot of us. A lot of us that are okay with doing a little bit more risky jobs within that our perspective realms. A lot of the times they're people that don't have a whole lot of responsibilities at home, so to speak. Right. And then the ones that do, usually they wait until their kids are old enough to where they feel more comfortable of taking those risks, of getting into a little bit more of a, for lack of a better term, dangerous position within the job. Right. And I like the fact that you brought that up, because we don't hear that very often, because people see us and they see the jobs we're doing and they just think, oh, they're all the same, right? He was just promoting. He just promoted because he wanted the money, or he just promoted because he wanted to get more clout, or he just did this, or he's going that round because he wants to do. A lot of people don't understand that a lot of what we do in our job and our advancement and our lack of advancement is very much dictated by us being a human being and having a family and just being a normal person and having a family and worrying about those things that we have to worry about at home. And so we have to make the decision to either let a promotion go by because we don't want to put our family in a potential situation that can make it worse. Do you not? I mean, you said you had 4 kids. That's ridiculous. And they're all under the age of 5. Are you going to be holding back for a while when it comes to that stuff?
So, and you hit the nail on the head with talking about the promotional things of that nature. So 5.5 years and I'm still on the street level. It's kind of uncommon for an agency, because usually around 3 to 5 years, people start trying to promote. But where I'm located at, the area I work, I can get to my house with my wife and kids in under 2 minutes, no matter where I'm at. And that's really big with 4 kids under 5 years old. And 6 months from now, I know what days I'll be off, so we can plan ahead for doctor's appointment and things of that nature. There is this slight chance if I promote that, I could be to a totally different part of the county, where now instead of 2 minutes, now it's 45 minutes to an hour before I can get home in case something happens. So, I mean, my wife's staying at home taking care of 4 kids. Anything and everything can go wrong real fast. So that obviously plays a big role. And yeah, once the kids get a little bit older, where they can semi take care of themselves, in the sense of feed themselves, clothe themselves, go to the bathroom themselves. I mean, yeah, then I'll venture out. But right now it's the battle of what's best for me in the agency versus what's best for my family. And obviously, my family is the most important thing to me. So that's going to win that battle every single time.
You find that being in this realm, and you're married, correct? How long have you guys? For 3 years?
No, I was just showing the ring.
Oh, the ring. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been married, if you don't mind me asking?
7 and some change.
So she's been with you through this whole process, right?
Yes. We've had the conversation before it all started, and
I'm sure you've had multiple conversations since then as well.
Yes, definitely. I tell my wife about 75% of what happens at work. And that other 25% is just stuff that she just doesn't need to know the details of what happens. Periodically, we do have a conversation just to make sure we're still on the same track. We're still, because it's a team effort. When you're married, whatever I go through, she is either consciously or subconsciously, she's going through it as well with me, being there for me when I come home. And it's the county she lives in as well. So she's with me, 100% of the time in that aspect. So we need to make sure that we're on the same mindset, that we're still good. Then also that, she's my rock when I come home, right? So I need to make sure that my support system is still good, because if she's not good, that's what I lean to right off the bat. So but 5.5 years, we're still going strong. So
has that ever been an issue between you two when it comes to maybe having a hard day at the job or seeing something, or maybe you come home and, you saw something bad and you're just not willing to talk about it right off the bat? I've had some former guests on where, they come home, or they talk about coming home, and their spouse is like, their spouse is being a spouse. They're worried about you. They want to know if you're okay. They want to know if they can do something. And then sometimes when you're just shut off and closed off, they feel like they're failing in something, or you're a little short because you're still trying to process what happened at work or what was going on. Has that ever become an issue, or has that ever been an issue between you and your spouse? And the reason why I ask that is because I want people to know and realize that stresses of the job can affect home life. And it actually, with our jobs, because they are high stress jobs, that we actually maybe deal with this a little bit more often than somebody that doesn't do what we do.
Yeah, I think one of the first indicators to her when I come home, and it may sound strange, is how quickly do I take off my uniform. For instance, just a couple days ago, I came home and I want to get this uniform off. I want to get into my comfy clothes as quickly as I can. I'm done with I'm done with today. I'm done with it. I'm glad I'm off the next day. I just want to spend time with my family, and she knows. And she doesn't pry. She's really good at not prying. She lets me talk. But in the past, off the top of my head, I do remember conversations with us where she wants me to open up. She understands that I can't tell her 100%, but where are you at? Where's your mind at right now? Like, I just need to know what you're thinking. Is this affecting you? You tell me, is it affecting you? Am I good? But now all of a sudden someone's asking me that, and that doesn't happen a lot. How are you? Are you good? Is everything good? Upstairs. Is you kind of quiet today? Is that because of work, or is that because of something else? Because 4 kids is stressful. So it can go either way. It can go either way. So I do remember us having a couple of those conversations, which it's unique to me because, like I said, people in my work don't walk up to me and go, "Hey, you good? Is everything good? Everybody good mentally? Everything's fine." This doesn't happen that much. It happens rarely, but not as much. So coming from home, from the wife, where you're supposed to be, the provider and stuff, her coming out of the work saying, "Are you good? What can I do for you?" It's just it's a strange feeling, but that conversation we had a couple months ago, but kind of reeling it back, day-to-day basis, she knows how my day's going or how it's been when I come home, how quickly I shed off all my gear and just want to de-stress for a couple minutes. And then, my kids are there clawing at me, wanting me to play with them the moment I walk in the door. So turning that switch off, turning the dad switch on, how quickly can I do that? That's always a struggle, I guess.
Yeah, you actually mentioned 2 points that I want to hit on. The not hearing it at work too often about, "Hey man, how are you? Are you good? What's going on?" I think that actually needs to happen a little bit more often with the guys and girls and women that we work with on the job, for more reasons than one, right? We always hear that saying, leave your home life at the door when you go to work, leave your work life at the door when you come home. The thing is, as human beings, it's nearly impossible to do. It's nearly impossible to do. You would literally have to be able to shut off your complete empathy for one aspect of your life just to operate in the next. And my theory and my suggestion to people is don't do it. Instead, try to find a way to communicate what's going on. You don't have to get specific, you don't have to get descriptive, but the fact that your wife asked you, hey, how are you doing? Is it something here at home or is it something at work? She's able and smart enough to be able to differentiate the two. And that is actually very lucky. Not a lot of people starting off or getting into a civil service job have that kind of spouse where they have a complete understanding of where our mind can go and can get to. And at work, we don't hear a lot of, hey man, how you doing? Are you good? You seem a little off. Instead, they're just like, they'll go talk to their buddy. Hey man, you see Lance, man? He looks like he's a little off right now, man. What the fuck's going on? Instead of coming to you and being like, hey man, are you good? What's going on? And I think when we're able to do that, when we're able to be like, hey, where are you at? Let me know. Being able to open up is not going to necessarily mean that you're debilitated from doing the job, whether it being a dad or a husband at home and or doing your job at work as a sheriff's officer or a firefighter. Being able to open up and let them know, hey, yeah, man, I'm just having some problems at home. We have some financial issues. I got in a fight with the wife. I'm good for the job. I'm just kind of thinking about that stuff right now. It's bothering me a little bit. Cool. Then you're allowing your coworkers to know, hey, it's not the job. He's still going to be good for the job. He's just having some home stuff. That's understandable. When you come home and your wife's like, hey, what's going on? Where are you at? And you let her know, hey, it's because I have a little bit of an issue with this here at home. Cool. Let's work on it. Hey, it's because I have a little bit of an issue from work. Okay. Now she understands that it's not her, that it's not the family. And so she's going to be able to separate, right? And not feel like there's something wrong at home. She knows that, okay, it's something at work. Let's work on that too. It's rare that you find somebody that's able to do that. At least at the beginning, very, very young into the career. Sometimes it takes a lot of practice to get to that point. And I always say, like, just don't leave it at the door. Mm-hmm. You talked about the switches, turning them on and off. Now, I get, especially with kids, I get when you come home and you had a stressful time, you don't want your kids to see that stress. Mm-hmm. But we forget kids are the most empathetic people in the world. You can be sad and depressed and angry. And when you come home and you see your kids and you try to act all bubbly and stuff, all you have to do is just act one little certain way that's a little bit different. Maybe you didn't hug them for that extra half second that you usually do. Or maybe you didn't smile at or laugh at the joke that they usually tell, as much as you would before. They'll know. They immediately know. You cannot hide anything from children. They know. They can feel that energy coming off of you. And I actually have a theory that your coworkers, if you work with them long enough, they're going to start realizing when you're actually really good and when you're not. Do you find it difficult sometimes to make those switches? Like you said, I would challenge you to maybe start trying not to use those switches. Instead, find a way to allow your family to know, hey, I'm still here. I'm still dad. I just might be going through something a little bit. Hey, I'm still the husband. I don't want to let you know everything, but I just want to let you know where my headspace is at. That way, you know that if I don't give you that hug for an extra half second that I usually do, if I don't laugh at that joke that I usually laugh at, it's not you. And explain to them why you're like that right now, because then it allows them to be a part of your entire life. And they're not so separated. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I completely agree with you, especially about the kids. They know, like you said, you don't give them that hug right when they ask. They're spot on. They're like, daddy's not happy or what's wrong. Or, they put it in the most simplest forms. Obviously, they're not going to go off and rattle on, you know, phrases and words like that, but they're literally going to put it, "You're not happy. What's wrong? Daddy's sad." Whatever it is. So it's, you know, I want to get that uniform off and get down on their level and you know, play with them. But it is, and you know, as you're talking, there's a couple of flashes in my head of, you know, come play, you know, around I walk in the door, "Hey, come play with me." And I'm like, let me get this uniform off. And they're like, "You're not happy?" It's like, "I'm just trying to get the uniform off. Let me get this uniform off. Let me get today off. And then, you know, let me get into these clothes and get down, and we'll play with freaking Peppa Pig or whoever you want to play with." And but it's they're usually the, if not always, the first people at the door waiting for me when I get home. And I mean, it's spot on. So it's, yeah, I see what you're saying with the light switch thing. It's more of like, in my mind, you know, as you're coming home from the end of the day, you're trying to process everything that happened, because it's not just one call, you know, that
Right.
day. We have 20 plus calls to service a day usually. So, you know, there's about 4 to 6 calls that are kind of just bouncing around in your head. You're trying to figure out, did I do that right? Did this really happen? What could I have done better? Or, wow, I cannot believe that happened right after that. You know, images, things like that. So as you're driving home, you're kind of processing all this. And then when you, at least for me, with all the kids, you know, when you get home, it's okay, take that. You know, I can't be sitting here thinking about all that. I need to play with freaking Peppa Pig, you know, or, you know, my daughter wants me to play Peppa Pig with her, whatever it is. So I need to put that on pause and play with some Peppa Pig and watch some freaking, you know, Frozen or whatever it is these kids want to do. But it is, and I can't comment on older kids because my kids are 5 and under, but it's literally at that age, it is I mean, it's just simplifying it to their level of, yeah, dad's not having the best day, but I still want to play with you. Okay. But as the kids get older, which I haven't experienced yet, I'm sure those conversations would be changing to, you know, maybe a little bit more description, not all the way, but that's not good enough. What's going on? Type of conversation. So I'm not there yet with them because they're obviously young, but I know that that's going to be happening. So
I can tell you it absolutely will. I have a 14-year-old daughter who's about to be 15 come May, and I have an 11-year-old son who's going to be 12 come October. And yeah, those conversations do happen. And, you know, I learned that being open and honest with them, you know, like you said, not being too descriptive, not letting them know exactly everything, but letting them know, like, yeah, I had a bad day. And, you know, I'm sorry that I'm not 100% here right now.
Yeah.
When you're coming home and you're switching those switches sometimes, or even at work, and you have to switch that switch, if you're, say you had a fight with the wife, just, you know, just an example.
Oh, that never happened.
do you kind of almost feel like you get cheated, or you feel like you have to put yourself on the back burner sometimes, and you kind of like, you're like, well, fuck, when am I going to be able to actually deal with this? Like, when is it going to be okay for me to finally just deal with this? And it's not to say that you blame, you know, your family for not being able to deal with what you have to deal with. And it's not to say you blame your job for not being able to deal with the stuff you have to deal with at home. It's just saying, like, man, when am I going to have a fucking break to just be able to process what I need to process and be who I want to be and need to be? Do you ever find that to be an issue sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, especially, I keep ringing on it, you know, being married with 4 kids. I mean, off the clock, it's still a full-time job. And, you know, finding that time for myself, it is extremely hard. But me and my wife, we have for her as well, because it's just stressful with 4 kids. We have our de-stress, basically, is what we can do. Mine involves, you know, going to the gym and playing paintball and things like that. That's my time to just go. And sometimes I hang out with, or having guys night where we're just drinking a beer and we're just kind of BSing back and forth. So I have about 3 to 4 different types of de-stressors where it's just me time, you know, and me and some of my friends, maybe some coworkers, and I do let stuff off my chest with them. But like I said, the wife has it as well, where she'll go to the gym, go shopping, whatever, hang out with her family as well. That's about the only time that I just call them de-stressor, just what it is. And I tell everybody, if you don't have any type of de-stressor, if you just go home and you're at home and you're not doing anything else, and you go to work and you come home, you go to work, I mean, that's, in my mind, that's not good. Like, you need to. But on the clock, yeah, in my opinion, it's not addressed enough. Talking about incidents and things of that nature. But it is hard, which I was going to say earlier, it is hard to talk about that when you're in uniform. Because when you're in a uniform, you're kind of, it's literally like, you are flipping a switch. And I know that the flipping the switch is, there's a lot that comes when you put on the uniform. You're required to be all these things. And then, if an incident happens and one of your supervisors comes and says, "Are you okay?" What are you going to do? No, that affected me. That hit me. I should probably just go home. No one's going to say that. They're going to go, "Yep, no, I'm good." And that's it. You never hear anything else about it. You go to the next call and it just gets pushed underneath. And that's, I think that's a big thing that I know our agency needs to figure out. Can't comment on other agencies, but on the clock, it's not when you can do it, because I don't know anybody that I work with who on the clock while in the uniform is going to tell you, "Yep, that affected me. Yep, I need to talk about this. Yep, I need to go over here and have some alone time," or whatever. I don't know anybody who would say that, that I work with on the clock.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm with you 110% with that. I don't think there is anybody in any realm, first responder or military, that would actually say that, right? But why don't we say that? Well, one, we don't want to be looked at differently by our peers, for sure, right? And two, I mean, emergencies don't stop because we are affected by something. Everybody's life is still happening. Car wrecks are still happening, shootings are still happening, people are still getting mugged, houses are still catching fire. And because we're affected by something doesn't mean those things stop. And if you're on the job, you still got to go.
Yeah.
But the thing is just because we're affected by something doesn't necessarily mean we can't continue to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But being able to say, yes, that affected me, then that would at least allow somebody to be like, okay, well, when shift's over,
yeah,
why don't you come here and we'll talk about it? Okay, hey, whenever we have a little bit of a downtime or there's a lull, give me a call and we'll talk about it. Right? That should be the norm, because that's going to be the healthy thing for us to do, instead of keeping it bottled in, not letting anybody know. All of a sudden we're depressed or upset because we weren't able to get it out. And we always hear about after action reports, right? Cops do it all the time. Cops do it, like, for every call that they go to, they have to do an after action report, because that's part of your job, right? Why'd you arrest this guy? Why'd you go to this call? What happened while you were there? And then you talk to your superior. What could you have done better? What went right? What went wrong? Right? We talk about all those things. Those are after action reports, but we don't do critical incident stress debriefings enough, CISDs. We talk about them within our agencies all the time. They talk about them, but they're exactly like you said, right? Hey, how you feeling? Oh, I'm good. Okay, cool. That's your critical incident stress debriefing. That was it, And I think that we, as the frontliners, right, the ones that usually have to see and are in the shit, we're going to have to be the ones to try changing that, because the higher ups aren't going to push it. They're not going to push it, and the ones that do are fighting an uphill battle, because all the ones in the shit don't want to talk about it. They have this idea in their head that if they do, they might get pulled off shift. Yeah. They might get told, hey, take a break. And that's hard for us, because The job is actually kind of a stress relief in itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we trained our minds to deal with that kind of stress. That's the stress we know how to deal with, or we think we know how to deal with. And if you were to tell me, hey, don't come to work, you're a little, you know, we can tell you're a little bit stressed out, and you know, this is, the job's affecting you a little bit, you know, don't come to work. Goes, don't do that to me, because this is this job is the only way I know how to deal with stress. And even at home, sometimes we forget that how we deal with stress on the job isn't the same we should be dealing with stress at home. But we do it anyway. We do it anyway. Why? Well, because we trained our brains to do so. And a lot of people don't realize that. You know, I use this example a lot. In stress is stress to the brain, right? No matter what kind of stress it is, the same chemicals that when you're under stress gets released. Now, are there levels of stress? Sure. High stress, medium stress, low stress. Sure. But the same chemicals get released. And first responders, our high stress or our low stress can be our family members' high stress. You know what I'm saying? So when we come home, we forget that those high stresses at home, they're kind of our low level stresses at work. So when we come home and the laundry's not done, or the dishes aren't cooked, or, you know, the dishes aren't cooked, well, the dishes aren't done, or dinner needs to be made, or whatever, right? Those are home life stresses that to some are they're stresses, but to us they're like, I just got done doing CPR on a 6-year-old. What are you bitching at me for about not having the laundry done right now?
Yeah.
Why are you bitching at me that the lawn is not mowed? Like, I'll get to it. Relax. You know, we forget that we have the empathy is different when we come home. We have to be able to, you know, realize that we cannot compare our stress to anybody else's stress, because when we do that, we neglect or undermine that person's idea of what's stressful and what does need to be taken care of. And as first responders, when we're in those high level stress and we learned how to deal with high level stress, we rewired our brain to deal with it no matter what kind of stress it was. And our empathy kind of gets twisted, and it causes some issues sometimes when you come home, right? With friends, with family, the wife, the kids, mother, father. You're just like, why are you worried about that? Why are you upset about that? Why are you bitching about that? You know, you have a problem, let's fix it, and then be done with it. Just don't think about it. And it doesn't work that way. Have you found that to be a little bit of, does this sound familiar? I see you smiling when I'm talking, like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're right. Definitely. And I just use wife, kids as example. You know, the way I talk to people on the street versus the way I talk to my family. I've heard my wife make the comment during our little, you know, we chide back and forth. Don't talk to me like one of your suspects or something like that. Just where you're kind of officer presence, you're kind of direct, you know, kind of blunt, I guess. Maybe a little stern in the voice, and she's like, you know, or don't talk to me like one of your coworkers, or however she phrases it. I'm like, oh yeah, you gotta switch the dial back down a bit, or however you want to say it, as well. So it's definitely it's two lives. They're similar. They run parallel with each other, and you got to be able to. I mean, there are similarities in the home life and the work life, back and forth. I mean, there are, but you have to be able to go from one to the other. And if not, you're gonna have a lot of problems in the home life, or you're gonna have a lot of problems on the job if you can't, you know, go back and forth between those two. But I definitely got myself in trouble with the wife, with you know, the empathy level. You know, I hear, you know, when women talk about, you know, guys don't open up, they don't say enough, blah blah blah, talk to me, or you're just kind of just monotoned in the way you talk. and she knows that's not me. I mean, if you see any of my TikToks, it's like I've got a stupid sense of humor. So she'll make me snap out of it, say some type of remark, whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm back to earth. So
she'll call your ass out, is what it sounds like.
She will.
I'm gonna get a little bit personal now, man. And you don't have to answer if you don't want to, or I hope you do and answer honestly. Throughout the process and throughout your life, have you ever had to deal with any type of mental health disorder, be it depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, or anything like that?
No, I'm not. I mean, not to my knowledge. I mean, I want to be honest with you. I think I can't speak for everybody, but I think there's a majority of people who do what we do think, man, do I have PTSD? Like I don't know because no one talks to me about it or anything. And you're like, no, that's not me. That's that other dude. That other dude definitely has. I mean, stuff like that bounces through your mind. But outside of that, I mean, other type of mental depression, addictions. No, I can honestly say no. The only thing that's actually bounced through my mind is the PTSD. Because like one of my close friends, he's in the military, and he came back from Afghanistan, and he does have PTSD, and I've been camping with him, things like that, fireworks, and it was apparent that he had PTSD. We're just talking with him. I mean, conversations were different than they were 2 years before, and so when you think of PTSD, well, not when most people think of PTSD, they think of that. They think of that, they hear a firework and someone's running and hiding underneath, a table or something. But I think there can be different forms. Obviously, there can be different forms of every line of work, can have some form of, obviously, fire department, EMS, law enforcement, whatever, the military, of course, everybody can have PTSD, but it doesn't get brought up enough. The discussions don't happen. So I think a lot of people in our line of work, that thought bounces through their mind, like, do I have it? No, that's not me. And then a couple months later, something happens. They're like, no, that's not me. That's not me. So it's one of those like unanswered, and for most people may never be truly answered. Because you know what I mean? It's just,
you try to talk yourself out of it.
Exactly. It's something that kind of gets swept under the rug, and then it gets brought back out maybe at a later incident, and then gets pushed back underneath. Again, it's never brought out to the light, fully discussed.
Have you ever thought about maybe seeking help and trying to figure out if maybe that might be something you are suffering from?
And I think we have a chaplain at our agency, and he has opened up and said, I will talk to anybody who wants to come talk to me. Once again, who's going to show up in uniform on their day and go talk to a chaplain who may or may not be, I don't know his qualifications, are the resources there? I mean, realistically, I'm not going to go start Googling, places and people to talk to. Let's be honest, we're stubborn. We're all stubborn people. So it's almost like someone needs to come up and slap us in the face and say, hey, come talk to me. Hey, here's an opportunity. Hey, let's go do this. And because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know. There's rarely anybody's going to go out of their way to go in search of something that should be readily available, especially in this line.
And I agree with you. I think that in this line of work, there should be at least periodic checks on everybody's mental health. Not just, we always get those physical checks, throughout the years that we're working. They want you to do a physical exam. You hit a certain age, they want you to do a physical exam. You get hurt, you have to do a physical exam to come back to work. But they don't do that with critical incidents, right? They don't check on your mental health to see if you're ready to come back to work. They don't do anything like that. And my question is why?
Yeah.
Mental health is just as serious as, depression, PTSD. Those are just as serious diseases as diabetes. They need to be kept in check. They need to be making sure that you can still operate and function correctly, that it's not affecting not only your work life, but your home life. But we don't do that. And I think you're right. We're very stubborn in that even when something does affect us, we don't want to admit it to ourselves that it affected us maybe as much as we thought.
Mhm.
Right. But then all of a sudden another call comes up, as you alluded to earlier, another call happens and holy shit, it's brought up again. You're like, why is it being brought up again? Do I have PTSD? No, I don't have PTSD. And then swept under the rug again. At some point, we need to make it normal and okay for people to be like, when they have those questions, it's okay for them to go check and find something. Now, agencies, they'll like the first and only time I heard about the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, that a lot of civil service uh, companies or cities that you work for have. But you only hear about it once when you get hired, and then you never hear about it again. Right. And then half the people don't even know that their insurance might have a mental health aspect within that, within their insurance. And why? Because, well, it doesn't get talked enough about. And I think what needs to change is I think people need to start becoming more aware of themselves when it comes to mental health, especially first responders and military. We need to be able to say it's okay for me to question my mental health. I shouldn't have to have somebody be like, hey, man, you seem a little off, for it to click for me to finally go get help. Because that at that point, then it might be progressed to a point that it's going to be really hard to start working through.
Yeah.
You know? And I think part of the mission here with What Makes Us Fire and trying to kill the stigma is allowing ourselves to have that conversation with ourselves, knowing that there's not going to be any judgment, knowing that it's okay for us to question these things because we need to question it. You know? And the way that's going to happen is for people like you and me coming on a podcast, or even just talking to our coworkers or talking to our friends, be like, hey, why do you think it's so bad to talk about this? Why do you think it's so bad to talk about that? Why can't we just be open and honest about it? You know, and start breaking down the idea that if you start doing that, that it means you're less than. Right?
Yeah.
While you're doing all this and while you've been doing the job, you said that you've had these questions of PTSD and you feel like you need somebody to be there and be like, hey, what's wrong?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think it is that's stopping you, even though you've had these questions of yourself? What do you think it is that's stopping you from actually seeking a solid answer?
Honestly, I think it's just day-to-day life. Finding the little time I have for myself is difficult, especially with the work. And then just because the 12-hour shift is over, you still have, you still have court, you still have depositions, things of that nature. You come home to a full family, that never stops. That's 24/7. And then the little time you have for yourself, you're filling it with some type of de-stressor. Maybe I just want to sit and watch TV, like not watch Peppa Pig or Frozen, watch an actual TV show or something for me. And so the little time you have for yourself, you're not going out and trying to answer those questions. It's literally it's being swept under the rug. And like I said earlier, my wife knows about 75%. But I think deep down we all would like to talk to someone about that extra 25%. Let's talk about the 100%. Let's get real. Let's not sugarcoat. This is what's going on. Is this normal? But it's like I said, who is going to go out of their way to go search and find for these resources when these resources should be readily available for all of us? And I don't have a golden answer, but that's just off the top of my head. It's just,
you would rather do what already at least works right now, in that watching that TV to kind of get out of your head, or going paintballing or hang out with your friends just to get out of your head. You'd rather stick with knowing what works.
Yeah.
And I'm going to challenge you, and I hope you don't take this as offensive, but I'm going to challenge you in saying that I think those things for you are just Band-Aids.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
And to be able to finally get that true answer and the help that you may or may not need is seeking somebody that can give you a real answer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I always talk about having 3 conversations, right? The first conversation is with yourself. Allow yourself to be okay with the fact that something is bothering you, that something is not right, that you do have this question in your head that you don't know whether or not you have PTSD, but it keeps coming up, and that's not normal. And having to be okay with that, being okay with that, that's the first conversation to have. And that's the hardest conversation because nobody really wants to admit that something might be wrong with them, right? Nobody wants to admit that. Nobody wants to admit that they're broken or hurt. Nobody wants to admit that, you know, certain things are bothering them when they're not bothering anybody else. You know, it makes you stand out, and it makes you stand out with something that can possibly be looked at as detrimental. And that's where I say like the first conversation is hardest, because that's being true and honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
The second conversation to have is once you're able to finally admit, hey, yeah, you know what, something is going on, I might need a little bit more help, blah, 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 is you talk to the people that are closest to you in your life, your wife, you know, your coworkers, the people that really, really see what's going on with you, right? And then, of course, the third conversation to have is with a professional, somebody that can give you real, true answers as to what it is that you may or may not be dealing with, right? And I would challenge you to start thinking about that, man. If you're having these ideas and thoughts and possibly could be, but you're not sure, well, go find the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, it's going to keep popping up. And sooner or later, it's going to come to a point, in my opinion, that you're going to be like, oh, shit. And you're not going to know how to deal with it. And I say that nip it in the bud, you know, start seeking the answers now. Try to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate you talking about this with me, man. I appreciate you opening up about it. I appreciate you allowing me to give you my point of view on it. You know, I always say do what works for you as long as you're healthy and safe,
Mm-hmm.
right? But at the same time, I always advocate for people to very, very seriously look into their mental health, because if you don't, you run the risk of allowing it to manifest and get stronger and then turn into something more. And that's what we're trying to stop. It should be okay for you to admit to yourself, I may or may not have PTSD. It should be okay for you to admit to the people that you love, your family, your friends, that, hey, you guys, there's something going on with me. I don't know what it is. I think it might be this, but I'm working on it. I'm going to try to figure this out. It should be okay to be like, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to go looking for somebody that might help me, but I need the help. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. Right. And even though the Band-Aids work and they feel good and they allow us to de-stress, if it keeps coming back up, that means we never dealt with it.
Mm-hmm.
That means we didn't fix it. So again, I appreciate you opening up and kind of giving us a little bit of insight into who you are and how you deal with those things, man, and your family. I now want to go ahead and flip scripts. And bro, TikTok, your social media. What in the hell possessed you, a 31-year-old man who happens to be a sheriff's officer, to get on a social media app that at the beginning was just for teenagers to lip sync and do crazy shit?
So just started last year during the whole COVID-19 debacle that's going on. And I'll never forget, me and my buddy were at the house, and our wives were talking on the couch, and they're like watching all these videos. I'm like, what are you watching? They're like, oh, it's TikTok. I'm like, I have no idea what that is. So they showed us some funny videos. So like, all right, we'll make an account. let's check these videos out. And all of a sudden, I almost immediately found, cop TikTok, however you want to say it. I'm like, all these cops. I mean, this is hilarious. This is some funny stuff. And I think COVID-19 really, everybody's in their house, bored as crap. So all these adults now are like, I can do this. I can do this. So I was like, yeah, made a stupid video here, a stupid video there. And then TikTok came out in August and they're like, you can make money making videos. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, if you have this, that, and the other, you can make nickel and dime. I'm like, we'll try it. Why not? It'll be a hobby, I guess. Another de-stressor, if you might say. Just something just to pass the time. But strangely, my wife actually, she's kind of a shy person. And TikTok's actually helped her open up. And all of a sudden, it turned from this kind of stupid, funny hobby to all of a sudden people start following you and start, hey, man, I had a bad day and I watched your stupid video and it made me smile. And you're like, really? Like that video made you smile? Dude, I got more. Like, check this out. And you do another video and they're like, dude, I had a bad day. And watching this video, this is hilarious. I look forward to your videos, every day or whatever. And you're like, am I really affecting this many people? And then, like, as we were saying earlier before, all of a sudden, like 5,000 followers turns to 100,000, turns to 200,000. And we do our live sessions and then we go out of our way sometimes and we do some fundraisers and things like that. And it just turned into this whole nother social media family where, we run into people like Conservative Ariel, who leads us to you. And it just opens up outlets all over, all which stemmed from a TikTok app, which was for teenagers. But I think it's turned into a lot more of that the past year and a half, 2 years. So.
I think so too. And it's crazy that this social media platform has turned into almost like for me and what I'm doing, a lot of people are telling me, wow, are you a motivational speaker? Are you a life coach? No. I'm just a dude sharing my idea, trying to spread awareness. I'm just somebody just making videos that I think need to be made, talking about things that I think need to be talked about. And people are affected by it.
Yeah.
When did you realize that what you were doing was more than just for you?
When I started making some law enforcement videos, like I actually, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I actually have, a vest right here, and kind of opened up the field of humanizing the badge, of showing people think that law enforcement are just robots, like, because they don't, none of their families law enforcement, they've never had a full conversation with a law enforcement officer. They just think we're robots. So they see us out here making funny videos. All of a sudden, the next video, first video is me in this vest, and the next video is me with my wife and kids, playing with toys and stuff. The next video is me and my wife making fun of each other. And the next video is me in the vest. We're just normal people. And having those conversations with people who go, I've never liked law enforcement. I've been scared of law enforcement, or I hated law enforcement, but I'll follow you because I like your content. And that's the start of the conversation. And then when we get in our live sessions and, we start talking with our viewers or followers, and we can actually start up these conversations and essentially start humanizing the badge. So probably like at the end of last year, I haven't even been on for a year yet on TikTok. So a couple months into it, I realized this has some opportunity, to be bigger than just making a stupid video here and there. And then connecting with other law enforcement officers who do the same thing, like, Officer Kingery and Easy and all those other guys and gals. It's just opening up windows of opportunity for us.
What possesses you to keep going with the content, and why do you decide to continue going with the content you're making? What obviously you wanted to humanize the badge, but you could have changed what you were doing at any point in time.
I think a big thing is how easy it is. I can make a video in this room, me and my wife, we have 4 kids. We can't go out and eat all the time. We can't. It's when we go to the park. It's we have to plan way in advance because it's 4 kids going out, packing all this, that, and the other. But making a TikTok video, I can make it in 30 seconds. In the room around the corner, so it's very easy to make. But also with me and my wife, it's a hobby that we have in common that we can do together. She doesn't go paintballing with me. She doesn't go to the guy's house drinking with the boys, but it's something that we can pair up. And we have this kind of husband-wife duo going on. We're in each other's TikTok videos. People see us as a family, helping humanize badge, whatever. But it's a hobby that we have in common. And that's easy to do from our couch, while we have the kids. I'll watch the kids. You can go do a live, or you can go make a video or whatever it is. So we don't have to go out and pack up the vehicle. And it's a simple hobby that we could do day to day.
Have you thought about maybe turning what you have created into something more than just you and your wife humanizing the badge? You thought about maybe creating some type of, I don't know, some type of entity or project or something with what you have going on? I mean, let's be honest. You have 100,000 plus family members. I call them family because these people hit that little red follow button. They're telling you what you have to say is worth my time. And that's huge because time is precious. You'll never get it back. And these people are saying, Lance, what you have to say, what you're creating, that's worth my time. And it's helping me in my life. It's helping me de-stress. Have you guys thought about maybe, I don't know, starting a nonprofit or turning this into something that can be so much more beneficial than just helping? I mean, you're helping people now.
Yeah.
But maybe helping them even more.
So, you said at the beginning, like, you realize, you're technically a social media influencer. And, it's not, we never really thought of it. It was just a hobby that been doing together. And actually in the past month and a half, I went from 100,000 followers to actually 200,000 followers. And it's still not really clicking like what you're saying. Hey, there's 200,000 people who click that follow button. It says, okay, I'm going to follow you because I like what I see. So I think it's funny you said that because I think right now we're actually in the stages of exactly what you're saying. What are we doing with this? I mean, it's turned much more than just a hobby, and connecting, making stupid videos and funny videos. We have the opportunity to do much more, but right now we're kind of just, is this really happening right now? Like, what? So I was like, why are all these people following us? Like, we're just average Joes, average family, 4 kids. We're just a normal, typical family. Because like between me and my wife Allison, we have 270,000 followers, and it's just weird to think of that. Actually, I'm actually wearing. So there's law enforcement people who they make little groups and stuff, and Blue Line PD actually, which is kind of what I'm wearing right now. I know it's backwards. They actually asked me to join with them, and basically they're working on. They just started, but they're working on obviously humanizing the badge, but also being much more than just funny videos and things like that. Like, what can we do for the people in the TikTok community? So fundraisers, and I believe what you said, they're working on the nonprofit organization. I've been on it for literally about a week and a half. So I'm like, hey, I like what I see. I like being more than just, funny videos or whatever. Count me in, let me help any way I can. So we're literally in the beginning stages looking around, because I think it's just now clicking that what you said, we could do a lot more with what we got. So I think we're starting to go down that path right now.
So you guys are still kind of like in the brainstorming process of what you and her can do on your own end, but you're also allowing yourselves to help something else that's already started, Blue Line
Yeah.
PD. Now I've heard of Blue Line PD, and yeah, it's become a huge TikTok family. You know, and it's awesome that they're starting to do something to make it more than just humanizing the badge. Yeah, let's humanize the badge, but you know what? Why don't we create something more that might be able to help our brothers and sisters in blue or other civil service members? And that is really cool that you're allowing yourself to do that, that you're allowing yourself to recognize that what you've created is more than just you. And now you have a chance and an opportunity to change, for the lack of a better term, you have this opportunity to change the world in your own way.
Yeah.
And I highly suggest you continue brainstorming. And once you do find that niche or whatever it is that you guys decide to pursue it and pursue it with exactly how you're doing it now. Don't change, just integrate into whatever it is you decide to support and or start. That's kind of like what I did with the What Makes Us Fire Foundation. You know, I told you on the phone call we had earlier is that, you know, I saw something that was needed for civil service members. And so I tried to create it. And all of a sudden, 2 months later, here I am with a nonprofit foundation with its mission to help all civil service members get inpatient mental health treatment. And basically the idea is to make finances not a deciding factor on whether or not somebody goes and gets the help that they're seeking, you know? And apparently that idea is very, it's getting a lot of support. You know, I'm new to TikTok. I just started in September of last year. And so I'm still fairly new. But there are a lot of people that are supporting the idea of killing the stigma and supporting the idea of the mission of the nonprofit foundation. Because not only are we going to be doing that with the grants and helping other civil service members, and when I say civil service members, I mean military, first responders, active and or retired, and volunteers. Because these are all people that are dedicating their lives to something greater than themselves. So let's give them something in return that is not really there right now. It's not really there right now. I've done the research. My nonprofit, or the nonprofit that I've created, there's nothing like us out there. Now there's facilities that offer free help and stuff like that, but they're not the same. They're not the same. You know what I mean? You go to an addiction treatment facility and they're either extremely faith-based and not everybody follows that faith, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? And it's what I have is allowing somebody who is searching for that help to not be limited to just those things. Now they can search for something more that might be more beneficial to them and their family. And I would love and I would appreciate if, and the fact that you're even on the podcast shows me that you support it as well. And I appreciate that. If you want to talk to Blue Line PD and see if maybe we can work together and possibly help not only my mission, but whatever their mission is, allow us to help y'all as well. I think we can start making a huge difference in people's lives, you know, all over the world, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I get off here, hopefully my phone doesn't die. I'll send them a message, because obviously I knew a little bit about you, but obviously not a whole lot. So now knowing where y'all are at, what your goal is, I mean, I think that is right in line with what Blue Line PD wants to do. So I'll definitely send them a message and say, you need to look into this. This is something that I think, you know, we have the ability to reach a lot of people with our platform, and have them talk to you and see if we can work something out. I think these conversations need to happen. You know,
absolutely they do.
So,
well, Lance, I'm going to go ahead and start closing this out, man. I know you said your phone's about to die. Usually I end the show with 3 questions. They can be short answer, doesn't matter. Sometimes they spark an extra 10, 15-minute conversation, whatever. But they're fairly simple. There's no right or wrong answers. It's just kind of to get an idea of who you are. Just a little bit more to who you are. My first question is a little bit twofold in that I'm going to be asking you, Lance, you have your own podcast. We'll call it the Sir Lancelot podcast, right?
Yeah.
And you're interviewing Lance from Sir Lancelot podcast. What's the one question you would have asked yourself and or piece of information you would have liked to share that maybe we didn't hit on?
I think you did hit on it. People see the TikTok version of me, so to speak, but who are you outside of TikTok? Where did you come from? Who are you? And that was one of the first questions you asked. And a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people in the TikTok world, they don't know that. They know I'm from Florida, but realistically, that's kind of all they know. What's your family like? Where'd you go to school? Like, what type of area did you grow up in? Just so that kind of starts the building block of, okay, this guy came from this, now he's here. Hey, we're pretty similar people. There's no, we're all from similar paths, and but no one's actually really asked about how I grew up. How did it all start, so to speak? They've asked how did you get in law enforcement, right there in the middle, but nothing from the beginning stages. So I think that was good, bringing that up. That's, for me, that's the first thing I'd ask. Who are you? I think you're on TikTok, but who are you?
Right. And that's the whole idea, right? Not only are you humanizing the badge, now you're going to be humanizing yourself as a social media influencer, letting people know that you are seeing us on TikTok. You are seeing us making these funny videos, but you're seeing a part of us. You're not seeing all of us. And we want to share that part of us with you, but we also want to let you know that we're not all that. We're just normal people, doing an abnormal thing. And we're not better than, we're not greater than, we're not less than. We're right on par with everybody else. And the fact that you want to do that and you want to share those things is huge. And I appreciate that from you. My second question, do you have any questions for me? Very simple, very, very simple. If I can answer it, I'll answer it. If I can't, I'll politely say, with all due respect, sir, fuck you, I'm not going to answer that question. Ask me another question. But yeah, man, shoot. I'm pretty much an open book.
I don't know. Not really that could be answered through a podcast, but I definitely would like to. That's my dog. He's freaking. Did you get back there? Oh my goodness. I definitely want some more information about you and your nonprofit organization, and it's email, camp, whatever it is, because I want to be able to push people towards you, because like I said, you need to have these conversations, 100%. And we are stubborn people. It's me going out and finding you is probably not going to happen, but someone like Conservative Ariel going, hey, you should probably talk to that guy. I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. So I can push more people towards you. I definitely want some more information, because if they start asking questions, I want to be able to answer. He's a firefighter. Ooh.
Oh, come on now.
Nah.
Come on now. You guys can talk to your real true hero. Come on.
So I would like some more information, either email or whatever, just so I can start pushing that out, having those conversations with my coworkers and other people in the social media world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what I'll do for you is, first is you can always go check out WhatMakesUsFire.com. Our mission statement's right there on the front page. It's still a website that's being built. Again, we're a baby nonprofit, so we're just a baby. We're still doing in the fundraising phase, and we have to get to a certain capital before we can actually start the grant process. But we are working on the other parts, like the peer support network, the mentorship program. I'm starting to get context because I want to create a motivational speaking program to where I can get large creators such as yourself that are within the service civil service realm. Pops 951, Kingree, Jason Patton, Feagle, LJ Cream of Wheat, like all these large creators that are within the civil service realm. I want to see if they'd be willing to, spend a weekend somewhere where we have a small little convention where people can come in. You can tell your story live in person in front of everybody, do a panel Q&A where people can come up and actually ask questions and hopefully help them find that idea or look for that switch that's going to be like, you know what, I can do that to start getting better. I can do that. I can talk to this person now. And not only will that help us humanize the badge a little bit more, but now it's going to allow us to humanize mental health as well. And so, I mean, we're more than just the grants and helping our civil service members get inpatient mental health treatment. We're way more than that. So we're in the process of creating all that stuff. We are a true nonprofit. We have the paperwork. I have the legal paperwork, got the IRS paperwork. They're already hounding me and telling me I got to turn this in, turn that in, and everything else. So we got our EIN number. It's not just I'm a nonprofit saying I'm a nonprofit. No, like I'm doing everything right. Got my lawyers, got my insurance, got my CPA. So I just don't want people to think because we're so brand new that I'm just saying this is what we are. No, we are. I took the right steps and made sure that we are what I'm saying we are, so people can understand where we come from.
Well, I definitely appreciate this conversation between us. And I mean, from my point of view, I 100% support everything y'all stand for. And you started in September. I started a couple months before that in TikTok. So I'm, still brand new to the whole social media world like this. But any way I can help, hands down, 100%.
Awesome. All right, man. My last question. It's a little bit more difficult. And nobody has given me an answer that I think that's going to be like a true answer. So you're on the What Makes Us Fire podcast, right? And our listeners can be listening and say, oh, I'm listening to somebody tell me what makes them a civil service member. So when you hear fire, think civil service, right? Because it's about all civil service. What do you think it is that actually makes us fire, makes us people that are willing to sacrifice of ourselves, be it time, money, mental health, physical fitness? What do you think it is that allows us to continue to make that decision to go out and do the job that we do?
For me, and I can only speak 100% for myself, what drives me is when I go forward, it's when I look behind and I see my family. I work in my community. I work in my county. And like I said at the beginning, I'm helping pave that road for my family's future. And if it means I got to give a little more, a little bit more blood, a little bit more tears, a little more sweat for my family, my close friends, and my neighbors, I'm going to do it because someone's got it. It sounds, cliche, but someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do the job. Someone's got to pick up that shovel and start working. So do you want to do it or do you want your family to do it? I'll do it for my family 110%. So and we got a bunch of dudes who put on a uniform, whichever uniform it is, and they all do that same thing.
But where did that come from? Where did that feeling come from? And the reason why I ask is because, look, just look in your department. How many different types of people do you have working in your department? How many different backgrounds, associations, religions, sexual orientations, races, political ideologies? How many different types of people are doing the same job you're doing? But yet, in the outside world, not within that realm, they wouldn't do for people what we're doing?
I don't know, man. I mean, it truly is a hard question. I mean, it's, how I was raised, I think it's more of where did it come from? Where did it start? For me, I watched my dad, and, my older brother, and how they live and how they trained me and taught me, and life lessons inside the house from day one. It's not something that's just like one day you're like, oh, I'm going to do this. Nah, it's how you've been raised. So for me, how it came to me is how I was raised with my family, and watched my dad and my older brother, and the things that they did for our family. And, I was on the receiving end of that. My dad was willing to give up so much for the life that I have. So then when you come of age and you start getting out of that, me self, it's okay. Now it's starting to make sense what my dad was doing. For me, that's what it is. My dad.
Well, man, I appreciate you, Lance, for coming on the show, brother. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for being open. I appreciate you sharing the things that you shared. I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you helping me kill the stigma. And I appreciate you allowing me to challenge your thinking and giving you points of views that maybe you have or have not heard before, and doing it gracefully and respectfully. I hope I was respectful as well, as respectful as I can be to a cop. And but man, no, seriously, thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything else, man? Where can What Makes Us Fire Family follow you? What's your TikTok handle?
It's literally Sir Lancelot. It's just in between. I make it difficult for everybody. In between each letter, there's a period.
Okay,
so
yeah,
just
typical cop, making it difficult, making it more difficult than it needs to be.
Definitely stands out, though.
It does. I'll give you that.
Thanks for having me, and I appreciate everything y'all do.
Of course, man. Of course. Thank you. All right, What Makes Us Fire Family? You heard it. Go follow Sir Lancelot with a period in between each letter, because, why not? Follow him on TikTok. He has some great content. He's funny. He's a good guy. He's a good man. Again, man, it was a pleasure getting to know you. Thank you for allowing the What Makes Us Fire Family getting to know you. I can't wait for this episode to air. And yeah, that's it, brother. You have a good one, man. Thank you again for coming on the show.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
All right, What Makes Us Fire Family. That was Lance, better known as Sir Lancelot, again, on all his social media profiles. Really, really getting popular on TikTok. I want to say thank you to him again for sharing his point of view, sharing his life, and allowing us to give him a little bit of a different perspective, and really giving one to me as well. He's taking a step in helping kill the stigma. And for our fellow brothers and sisters that are in civil service, it's a huge deal. We need more people like him, more people willing to put himself on the line and allow himself to be judged about talking about mental health. I know it sometimes is a difficult conversation to have and an uncomfortable one, but him and I made it work. And it wasn't that uncomfortable. It was actually pretty fluid. He definitely gave us some insight on what it's like to be a civil service member and have a family. I don't think a lot of people understand that. Anyway, thanks again, Lance. What Makes Us Fire Family? Thank you guys for following, for listening, for sharing. You all are amazing. Please, 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 please follow us on all these social media sites: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. I think I said Facebook already. And TikTok with the tag @WhatMakesUsFire. You can also follow the show on YouTube with What Makes Us Fire, one word space podcast. There is a link down at the bottom in the description. Click on that link. It'll take you to the whatmakesusfire.com page, where you can check out all the podcast hosting sites. So please go check that out. Also, while you're on that site, look, we're a nonprofit organization. What Makes Us Fire Foundation relies on donations from you, the What Makes Us Fire family, to continue to grow. And if you find it in your heart to make that donation, please go to WhatMakesUsFire.com, click the donate button, and give whatever you can. Every penny goes to help growing the foundation and helping us get closer to our mission and helping our civil service members get the inpatient treatment that they are wanting for themselves. It also helps us build the peer support network, the mentorship program, and it allows us to start planning our motivational speaking programs where you will be able to talk to everyone you've listened to on this show in person and ask them questions and meet them. You all are amazing. I can't thank you enough for all the support that you've been given. I can't thank you enough for all the support that you have been giving the What Makes Us Fire Foundation and the What Makes Us Fire podcast. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Have fun, stay safe, show some love and peace out in the world. You never know who's going to need it. You never know if you're going to be the one to make the difference. And being that difference feels amazing. Be the change you want to see in the world. And don't allow the world to dictate how you want to see that change. Peace.